Welcome back to another episode of Georgia Sports Nation. We got some more Braves and Hawks content on the way for you guys today. I'm going to be discussing the latest Braves games, kind of what has been going on with the team lately. The offense is kind of scuffling, but the Braves are still winning. Ultimately, they did fall in the most recent series to the Mariners, but 20-9, still the best record in baseball, and they're still chugging along despite some injuries, despite some players slumping. So we're going to go over that. Also previewing the big series starting tomorrow night against the Dodgers. Yes, the Braves face off against Freddie Freeman and the guys in Chavez Ravine. So if you guys are ready, if you guys are able to watch this game and you don't have Xfinity Comcast like me, then you're going to be able to watch some good baseball. Hopefully, I'll be able to listen to these games maybe. But yeah, unfortunately, not able to watch games at the moment. But at the end, maybe go over a little bit of Hawks talk. What's some offseason expectations? Look at the playoff flameouts, see what's going on for the market as far as some targets the Hawks could look at. So without further ado, let's jump into it. And how's it going, folks? So getting into this Braves talk. Starting off, I wanted to get right to the elephant in the room, Ronald Acuna Jr. And we know that in baseball, players are going to go through slumps. In basketball, there's shooting slumps, but normally those things, they get corrected within like a few weeks, maybe if they even last a month sometimes, but that's very rare. In baseball, the slumps are longer, but not this long, especially for superstars. Ronald has been really struggling with the fastball. His timing has been off. I think the at bat that alarmed me the most was in the third game in the Mariners series. I forget who was the pitcher. What was it? Was it Miller? Yeah, it was. Miller threw him 4 straight fastballs, letter high, right down the middle, and Ronald fouled every single one of them off. That's how you know that his timing is just not right, and he needs to get back because while the Braves are still winning some games, Marcell Ozuna has been just doing a fantastic job. Travis d'Arnaud, Michael Harris he's been striking out a lot lately, but he's still getting his hits. But really, Marcell Ozuna, Travis d'Arnaud, Orlando Arcia, Ozzy Albies just came back from his toe injury. Those 4 guys right now are really the teeth of the Braves lineup, if you will, with Olsen, Acuna, and Riley all struggling. But back to Acuna. Something we saw last year was how great the whole Braves lineup was, not just Acuna, against four-seam fastballs. This year, the home runs are down, the barrel percentage is down for the Braves, and they have the best record in baseball. But for them to go as far as they want to, which I think we all can agree is World Series or bust, especially with the roster they have, that they're not going to get there if Acuna, Olsen, and Riley don't get going. For Ronald, it seems like he's always early on the curveball, late on the fastball, just in one of those in-between zones that it might take a little bit of time for him to get out of. And Latimer, exactly, 100%. Shout out to the pitching. Chris Sale's been as good as advertised. Ronaldo Lopez has been a really pleasant surprise. I know myself included, when the Braves signed him, I was a little bit skeptical of them stretching him out and becoming a starter because he did struggle when he was a starter earlier in his career. He went to the bullpen and was elite. But now he's come back, being elite as a starter, been one of the best pitchers in baseball, honestly. And Max Fried had that rough start, but slowly coming back. Obviously, he had that Maddox 92-pitch shutout against the Marlins. He comes back, has a great start against the Mariners here in the first game of the series, where that was a crazy game. No hitters into the sixth inning. The Braves take the lead, but unfortunately, the Mariners do win it with a Mitch Garver walk-off homer in that game off A.J. Minter, who, by the way, is still pitching really well. I'm pretty sure those were his first runs given up in the last 2 weeks, so I wouldn't be too worried about Minter there. But yeah, back to Acuna. I think the biggest thing for me with Ronald is the strikeouts. I think that's a sign that he's just pressing too hard. He looks like a guy who he knows he's struggling, and his numbers are bad, But for a regular guy, they'd be like, okay, I'm having an okay season. But because Ronald's expectations, the fans' expectation, his own expectations, the coaches, pretty much everybody's expectations for the last year's National League MVP is so big. That's why it looks like he's just having, pretty the roughest stretch of his career. He had last season, I think three strikeout games all season. He's already had three. He's already had more than three actually this year. He's also struck out multiple times in the past 6 games. That's just not going to cut, especially for a leadoff hitter. It looked like Ronald was figuring it out a little bit more 2 weeks ago. He did have an on-base streak when he led off the game with nine straight at bats leading off a game. He got on base, whether it was walk, hit by pitch, single hit, whatever it is. But that streak has long gone. Hopefully he can get back to the way that he used to be, because the Braves will need that coming down the stretch. Even if they keep winning games, the schedule has been just probably middle of the road. They have faced a team like they've faced the Marlins twice. The Astros are good, but they're struggling right now. Same with the Rangers. They swept the Diamondbacks in an impressive series really early on in the first couple of weeks of the season. So they've faced some pretty good teams, but yeah, they still managed to get the best record in baseball, even though despite the injuries and despite the trio of Olsen, Riley, and Acuna going down. Well, not going down, just struggling. Speaking of Acuna, Riley, and Olsen, let's get to Matt Olsen, because last season, I think we can all agree that Matt Olsen was the best first baseman in baseball as far as just the raw numbers, OPS, homers, RBIs. He led those categories in the National League. As far as average, Freddie Freeman did beat him in that category. But run production, that is Matt Olsen's forte. But it hasn't been this year. He's striking out a lot as well. A lot of balls that he's hitting, though, are going to the warning track and just not going over the fence. It seems like, and there's been a couple Braves writers. David O'Brien wrote about this, or Dave O'Brien, not David. Mark Bowman did as well. The balls just are not carrying as much. It looked like they nerfed the baseballs, if you will, and for the whole league. The home runs are down, OPS is down, barrel balls percentage, that's down. So it's definitely going to be really interesting to see if that's the case for a whole season, and what Major League Baseball did, if they in fact did do anything. But back to Olsen, I think he's probably a little bit closer to getting going than Ronald, just because of some of the balls that he's hit. And I think Riley's the closest, which is why I'm saving him for last. But Olsen, we saw last season at the beginning of the year, he struggled on pitches down the middle. And whenever you see an elite hitter like that just struggling with pretty much meatballs down the middle, it just means their timing is off. And that, much like I said to Acuna, I think Olsen is getting there with the curveball. He's not chasing as much as he was during an 0 for 25 stretch. He broke that with a single on the most recent homestand. But with that single, it didn't really register any momentum. But the home runs are the biggest probably concern for Olsen, especially from that 4-hole. You're expecting him to hit north of 30, 40 homers each year, and for him, if he's struggling this much, it doesn't really look like he's going to get there. The RBIs aren't there for Acuna, Olsen, or Riley. You look at Orlando Arcia, Ozzie Albies, Marcell Ozuna, Michael Harris, Travis d'Arnaud, with all the homers he's hit early in the season. Those are the guys that are really driving in a lot of these runs. And, I thought Luis Guillorme, David Fletcher, both of those guys did a pretty good job filling in for Ozzie Albies when he was out. Really, these three guys that you Oh, okay, we're back. All right, a little technical difficulty there. Sorry, but I think that the biggest shock to me in this lineup is just the lack of home runs, and that's across Major League Baseball. Like I said, we're so used to this Braves team. Last season, they hit so many home runs, tied the 2019 Minnesota Twins with the juice balls for the most home runs in a single season, and they just didn't get it. They just can't hit. They just can't hit homers right now, which is both concerning and not, because they're still scoring runs. They're still scoring runs, and much like they did last season, right now, it's looking like they're kind of getting wins, grinding it out, but not looking like that absolute dominant team, like going through every single other team that they face. They're just getting more of these type of gritty wins that is just that during the early in the regular season you'll take for sure. But once that gets to September, October, and then especially in mid-October to win the playoffs, that's just not going to cut it. And unfortunately, for the last two seasons, we've seen the Braves offense just come to a screeching halt against Philly's pitching staff. That just hasn't been a good feeling for the last two seasons. But moving to Austin Riley, I think he's probably the closest out of the three All-Stars here. And really, I think these are the three best hitters on the team. They're just not performing overall well. Riley, he did have that walk-off hit in the most recent homestand against the Guardians to win a game 4-3. That was to send the Braves off with a good flight to Seattle. But that hit was up the middle, hard hit. That's something that was probably a little bit more encouraging than the rest of them. Riley's also hit a couple balls to the warning track, especially in Seattle. By both teams, honestly, a ton of balls to the warning track, especially left field, that looked like they were going to go out. And even on the broadcast for the first two games we were able to watch, if you have Comcast, they were able to. It seemed like Brandon Gaudin thought those balls were gone too, but they died at the warning track. It's seeming like a common theme throughout Major League Baseball right now. But Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna, I'm not worried about these guys long term, but I don't think it's ridiculous to say that you're a little bit worried, because we know what these guys can do. There's a huge, way enough sample size for them to say, okay, last season was not an outlier season. Maybe Olson, Acuna are due for a little bit of some regression to the mean just because of how incredible their seasons were last year. Riley really had a slow start similar to this season last year, and then went on a tear really for the last 2/3 of the season. But for Olson and Acuna, they are due for some big positive progression, and hopefully that comes soon, because like I said, the Dodgers, Braves, that is going to be a prime time series. It always is. Even before Freddie Freeman became a Dodger, these are the two best teams in the National League, I'm pretty sure, bar none. And that's why you want to be able to see these games. Hopefully, there's going to be a couple of nationally televised games that allow me to watch this series. But like I said, we'll see. Going into more specifics on this Mariners series, the pitching for the Braves, like Lyman pointed out, was outstanding. You had Max Fried. He didn't lose the game, but he didn't take the L on the scorecard. But the Braves, like I said, did lose that game. Both teams took a no-hitter into the sixth inning, and then Mitch Garver hit a home run in the bottom of the ninth, 2-run homer to take a 2-1 victory. And the Mariners won the second game 3-2, the first time all year that the Braves lost back-to-back games. They were the last team in the MLB to do so. So now every team in the MLB has lost back-to-back games, but it was also only the second series loss. The other series loss coming earlier in the season on a homestand against the New York Mets, which definitely the Braves owe some payback there to their friends up in New York. But I think the most common theme here and the most encouraging thing here is what Latimer pointed out. The pitching against a solid Mariners lineup was really good. Even in the losses, 2 runs allowed, 3 runs allowed, and then in the win, 2 runs allowed. The offense was the thing that really struggled up in Seattle. And whether it was home runs, whether it was hits, the only thing that they did that allowed them to have a big fourth inning like they did in the third game to get that 5-2 victory was an error from Mitch Haniger in right field. He should have caught a pretty lazy fly ball there. And he said after the game, he was really beating himself up about not catching that. But when you give a good team like the Braves extra outs, they're more than likely going to capitalize. And that's what Atlanta did. I think overall, I'd be curious for you guys in the chat to let me know. Are you concerned about the amount the less the fewer home runs hit by the Braves right now? Because this is more of a home run built team. Do you think they can sustain this run production, even though it's bad against the Mariners? The home runs have been down throughout the season. Even I'll run a stretch off the last few games. Against the Guardian, win 6-2. Marlins win 4 runs. Marlins win 5 runs, 3 runs, 6 runs, 5 runs, 8 runs, 5 runs, 6 runs, 6 runs, 9 runs. Like this team overall is still scoring the ball, is putting up runs, but the home runs aren't coming. So are you concerned that they can't keep this up? I'd like to hear that, your guys' opinion on that. But yeah, the Mariners series, I think overall it did give me some encouragement for the pitching. I'm not worried about the bullpen. I think some fans here definitely put a lot into one game, and a little bit too much in my opinion. Just because, for example, AJ Minter, like I said, those were the first runs he'd given up in a week and a half to 2 weeks, and it was on a mistake, mislocation, cutter. Found too much in the middle of the plate. Credit to Mitch Garver. He pummeled that ball, especially to left field, where most of the balls weren't coming out in Seattle. But yeah, Latterman says, I'm not concerned right now since we're still averaging 6 runs a game and the pitching's still good. Problem is, yeah, it's that I pretty much feel the same way, because I don't know if Ozuna can keep up this. Like, he's going to slow down at some point. Okay, he's due for some regression to the mean. You all know my thoughts on Ozuna. Like I've been saying, like everybody was writing him off way too quickly. There's no way a great hitter like that just forgets how to hit completely in his prime. He had that horrible year, distracted. He had those off the field issues, and we'll let that be what it be. But just talking about the on-field production, he's been insane this season. If it lasts any longer, the Braves may be screwed. Yeah. I think with the amount of production that Ozuna, Arcia, especially those two, both of those, I think will be due for some regression, just because sustaining their numbers. And we also saw an Arcia in the second half of the year. He dropped down big time with the average, the OPS, the strikeout rate went way higher than it was in the first half of the season when he was an all-star. So hopefully that drop-off isn't too big, because if that drop-off happens from those two specific guys, Riley, Acuna struggling, then you're really going to get to see this offense struggle to put up maybe 3 runs a game. So, yeah, I think nail on the head right there. But going into this Dodgers series, anytime the Braves and the Dodgers hook up for a series, it is must-see television. And now even more so with Shohei Ohtani in Dodger blue. Can the Braves offense score against the Dodgers pitching staff that really hasn't looked that good? It's funny because before the season, everybody was comparing, Braves roster, Dodgers roster. You got Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Max Muncy, Tyler Glasnow's now there, Yoshinobu Yamamoto is there. You've got obviously Freddie Freeman, and they really have not gone off to a great start. The Dodgers, they haven't looked like the team that they were supposed to so far. The Braves have, with the 20-9 record, first in the league in baseball, but they haven't been. They don't have a big division lead, because Philadelphia, normally they got off to really slow starts, but don't look now. Philadelphia is only a half game back behind the Braves, 21-11. They're both the Braves and the Phillies have looked better than the Dodgers so far this season. And I think the reason is because the Dodgers lineup is very top heavy. Once you get past the guys like Mookie, Freddie, Shohei, Max Muncy, Will Smith, after that, their lineup tapers off. And I think that's where the Braves offense has the advantage. Orlando Arcia, Travis d'Arnaud, Sean Murphy. Hopefully he can come back soon, even though recovering from an oblique injury, especially for a catcher, you're going to be bending down all the time. It takes a while, even on a grade 1 strain. But you've got Michael Harris batting 8th, 7th sometimes, who on most lineups would be batting easily in the top 5 in the order. So those guys at the bottom of the lineup will be key in this series, especially setting the table for guys like Acuna, Olsen, O'Reilly, making them not have to have all the pressure as they can figure out how to get out of their slumps. Latimer says, does winning the division really matter? Would you rather just lose the division just for a chance to avoid Philly and NLDS and face everyone else? I know that was definitely a topic at the end of last season, but in my opinion, you need to win the division. I'm going to reference the NBA for the play-in tournament here. I don't think you can purposely lose. Like if the Miami Heat in the play-in game against the 76ers, which would have purposely lost to face the Boston Celtics, I think that would have been a dumb move, because you want to play in the playoffs. Get a secured spot in the playoffs, figure it out later. Because ultimately, if you want to win the World Series and you're a World Series caliber team like the Braves, you're going to need to go through the Phillies to get there, assuming the Phillies will beat everybody they're supposed to, because they're a dang good team too. So I think you just get them out of the way, win the division. Whoever you face, you face. We'll get to the topic of rest versus rust with how many days the teams that win the division have off, because obviously the offense for those teams hasn't looked the best overall in the last 2 seasons. But you have to win the division, in my opinion. I don't think there's a question, at least for me. Going back to the Dodgers, though, their pitching staff has not been good. Like I said, Glasnow hasn't been as good. Yamamoto struggled in his first couple starts, but has settled down a little bit. Gonsolin is there, obviously. Walker Buehler is back, but their pitching staff really hasn't performed as you would expect with the names that they have. So can the Braves take advantage of that? And as far as the Braves pitching, they use their horses. Obviously Spencer Strider gone for the season, unfortunately. They use their horses in this Mariner series. Chris Sale, Max Fried, and Ronaldo Lopez. You're probably going to see Bryce Elder for a start against the Dodgers. You will see Charlie Morton in the first game of the series against LA against Gavin Stone. Stone's 2-1 with a 4.68 ERA. But something that Charlie Morton has struggled with this season is the home run ball. He's given up a lot of homers. We know that Charlie, when he's at his best, he's not walking guys. He'll give up a homer here and there, hanging curveball. But when he's hitting guys with pitches, overcooking that curveball, that is when he gets into a lot of trouble, because he's going to miss barrels. It's what Charlie Morton does. But if that one mistake comes after back-to-back walks, or a hit by a pitch, then you're looking at 2-run homers, 3-run homers, and as the saying goes in baseball, solo homers aren't going to beat you, and you rely on your offense to make up for one mistake on a solo. The Dodgers' offense has been everything that's advertised. Their top 5 guys are really good. Tapers off after that, like I said, but they're still really quality offense. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani's off to an incredible start as far as the extra base hits. He leads MLB baseball, Major League Baseball, in that category, and doubles as well. The Braves have been good at getting doubles too. Orlando Arcia is high on the chart. Marcell Ozuna, he is going to be the key in this series. The Dodgers, especially late in games, have a ton of flamethrowers coming out of that bullpen. We know, obviously, Bruce Dog Gratterall is there. Marcell Ozuna has hit fastballs so well. But if the Braves face Glasnow in this series, it's really going to be interesting to see what Acuna, and specifically Acuna and Olsen, do. Because, like I mentioned before, their timing just seems off. They're early on the curveball. They're late on the fastball, especially Ronald. And if he can time up some of these fastballs, I think that's going to put him in a good mindset and looking good moving forward. But like I said before, anytime the Braves face the Dodgers, it's must-see TV. I'm going to be excited for the series. Hopefully, I'll be able to tune into these games some other way. other than watching it on cable. But I do wanted to go into the last section here, discussing the Atlanta Hawks. Obviously, their season ended a few weeks ago against the Chicago Bulls. Disappointing season when you look at the roster, 36-46, finishing it up. And when you have DeJounte Murray, Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, Clint Capella solid too. Like when you have these players on the roster on paper, that's not a 36-46 team. But obviously, here they are, and they're going to be in the lottery in 10 days. When the draft lottery happens, Landry Fields, the general manager, is going to be there. He's going to be the representative on that stage. Who knows? The Braves, of course, I say the Braves. The Hawks, if they can move up in the lottery, I think they're going to trade the pick, especially exactly Maggie. Yes, they need to get us together. But if the Hawks can somehow move up in the lottery, I think they will heavily explore trading that pick, because getting unless they drop like a big man like a Khalil Ware, Donovan Clingan, if the Hawks can really move up and Clingan will fall to them, that would be really good. But the Hawks are most likely going to be in that 10 to 8 pick range. So that is what I'm going to prepare for with my research a bit. But there's definitely a chance the Hawks can move up in the draft. Yeah, 100%. This Latimer, that's exactly my thoughts. If they had the number 1 pick, you look to trade that immediately if you're Landry Fields, because number 1, that's probably enough to get you a star, at least a superstar with DeJounte Murray. All signs point to the Hawks wanting to break up Trae and DeJounte Murray, and trading DeJounte Murray was something they really were looking to do at the trade deadline last season. It seems like they're going to try to do that again. And if that's the case, trading a team, I don't know, let's just say the Pelicans, for example. I know Brandon Ingram had a rough series, but with a point guard, I think he'd be better, especially like Trae. And if you give up DeJounte Murray and the number 1 overall pick for Brandon Ingram, you're going to get more than Brandon Ingram back. And if the Pelicans only offer Brandon Ingram, you hang up the phone, because that number 1 pick and DeJounte Murray, that's going to be at least a Herb Jones, a Trey Murphy, maybe another rotation player, especially because the Pelicans are in the market to want a versatile center, and this is a very deep center draft, and they're in the market for a point guard. So if they can nab that number 1 overall pick, if the Hawks can trade it to New Orleans, they can pick up a Clingan, they can pick up a Sar with the number 1 pick. They can pick up DeJounte Murray in a trade. The Hawks can get exactly what they need: that wing scorer, a point of attack defender like Herb Jones. I think Trey Murphy's got upside. They're obviously not the defender Herb Jones is, but I think, at the 3 especially, I think he's got upside. And if I would want Trey Murphy instead of abandoning him from the Pelicans if I got the first pick. I mean, I think you're going to get more than you need both. Yeah, I think you need both. If the Pelicans aren't going to trade Herb Jones, you need both if you're trading DeJounte Murray and the first overall pick. That's not, because that's just simply not enough. Ashley says we're going to tee off on Killian Murray. I'm assuming you mean Clingan, but I think the Hawks, if Clingan fell to them, I think they'd look at him for sure. You're versatile, big on defense. Obviously, his offensive game is going to need a little bit of work, but I do like how he defends the pick and roll. I think he's going to get stronger. Even he's already strong now, and defensively, he's just a rim protector. He's a guy that can move his feet pretty well for his size. So I like the defensive potential that Clingan has, and the fit that he could be as a lob threat and rim protector, defensive organizer on this team for the future. Oh, you're talking about the Braves. Glass now? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think for the Braves, if they get Glass now, if they get Glass now in the series, I'm going to be heavily focusing on Acuna, Riley, and Olsen, timing up that fastball. Obviously, with that 12-6 curveball that Glass now is really known for, I think that's going to be the biggest key for them in the series. But yeah, no one else will drop to the 11th. I don't. Here's the thing. if the lottery is indeed rigged, like obviously a lot of fans say, I don't really think it is. I mean, it might be. I don't know. I still really haven't thought about that much. But um, if it is, if the Hawks do drop, I think they'll be less likely to trade the pick because they could probably get a more plug and play big man or more plug and play wing. I think most of us can agree that the Hawks do not need another guard. Obviously, you're gonna try and get back a guard in a DeJounte Murray trade. If you don't, then you'll still have Trey, you still have Kobe Buffkin, and Buffkin I think is due for an increased role, especially just in rotation minutes for next season. What he showed defensively, what he showed his poise to run the pick and roll, especially late in the year, that was really encouraging. So I think if the Hawks drop in the draft, they will use that pick and not trade it. But if they go to, like, say, 3 spots up, 7th through the first overall pick, I think they really explore to trade the pick because then you're looking at a more potential type player and you're looking for the highest ceiling. I think teams that want to hit the reset button, and it's been reported the Hawks don't want to do that. If other teams want to, they'll be looking to get that pick. And I think the Hawks can really take advantage of that. But yeah, overall, these playoffs have gone, and I guess unexpected. I didn't expect the Suns to get swept, and if they're stuck, honestly. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, all 3 of those guys are do so much money that they can't put a competent roster around them. They didn't even have a point guard on the roster in the rotation in the playoffs. So when that happens, you could potentially see Phoenix moving one of those big 3 if Kevin Durant becomes available, and he obviously every single time that he asks for a trade, he has a list on there. If the Hawks are on his list, you got to try and go get him. I think there is a chance. I think there's a chance that KD is traded this offseason. I don't think it's probably likely, but I think there's a chance he asks out and Phoenix does something because there's no way they can build a competent roster with just some the role players that they have. They just can't. They can't afford quality role players and all 3 of those guys with the money that they're making. So I think that's a team to look for. I also think the Pelicans. They get swept in the first round. Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy, Zion. What's going to happen with that team? They badly need a point guard, and that's why the Hawks and the Pelicans have always been rumored and in close talks with each other because the Pelicans have the wings the Hawks want. Herb Jones, one of the elite defenders in this league. You got Trey Murphy and Brandon Ingram. Murphy, more of that potential. Ingram, more of that surefire option on that wing. But they have the position the Hawks need, and the Pelicans need a point guard and a versatile center. The Hawks have Onyeka Okongwu. I think they will try to hold on to Okongwu, but if there's an offer they can't refuse, they probably do have to look to move off of Okongwu. And then obviously DeJounte Murray. Now, Murray's not the most elite passer, but he can definitely run your offense. He can organize it down the stretch, and that's what the Pelicans need because they were really bad in clutch time situations. Bottom 5 in the league in points scored per game then, and they didn't hit any threes down the stretch. When you have Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram just operating both inside the paint a lot, that's not a recipe for good offense down the stretch. When the game slows down, when it gets late in the clock, that's just not going to cut it. So the Pelicans and Hawks have exactly what each other needs. So keep an eye out for them to definitely have some talks moving forward this summer. But with that being said, I think we're going to end the show there. Thank y'all for tuning in to Georgia Sports Nation once again. We should be back next week, same time, Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. If not, I'll let you guys know. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.